Welcome back to Tech Stack for all you tech enthusiasts. This is part 12 of the Laravel 13 Complete tutorial series. In this video, we'll learn about URL generation in Laravel. URL generation is the process of creating URLs dynamically in your Laravel application. Instead of hard-coding URLs, Laravel provides helper functions that automatically generate the correct URLs based on your application's configuration and routes. Let's create a new view named vendor using an artisan command. We will create two more views, supplier and project. We're creating these additional views because we'll use them to demonstrate different URL generation methods in Laravel. Having multiple pages will make it easier to understand how Laravel generates URLs between different routes and views. Open the project.blade.php file and add heading. For now, we're simply adding a heading to identify this page. We'll use this view later when demonstrating different URL generation methods in Laravel. Open the vendor.blade.php file and add heading. We're adding a simple heading to identify the vendor page. We'll use this view later to demonstrate URL generation and navigation between different pages in Laravel. Open the supplier.blade.php file and add heading. This helps us identify the supplier page. We'll use this view along with the vendor and project pages to demonstrate different URL generation techniques in Laravel. Open the web.php file and add a route for the vendor page. Whenever a user visits vendor, Laravel will automatically load and display the vendor page. Add a route for the supplier page. Whenever a user visits supplier, Laravel will automatically display the supplier page. Add a route for the project page. Whenever a user visits project, Laravel will automatically load and display the project page. Now start the Laravel development server using the artisan command. PHP artisan serve command starts Laravel's built-in development server. Let's test the vendor URL in the browser. Laravel will load the vendor.blade.php view and display the vendor heading. Perfect. The vendor page is working correctly. Now let's quickly test the supplier and project pages as well. Now open the vendor.blade.php file and add heading. This heading indicates that we're about to learn how to retrieve the current URL in Laravel. Now add this code below the heading. URL current method returns the full URL of the current page without the query string. When we refresh the page, Laravel will display the current URL dynamically. Now let's test it in the browser. Refresh the vendor page. As you can see, Laravel is displaying the current URL of this page. We can also get the current URL using the URL helper in its current method. Output is the same as URL current, but this approach uses the helper function instead of the facade. Now let's test it again. Refresh the page in your browser. As you can see, the output is exactly the same. Both return the current page URL. Now add user equals Edward to the URL and refresh the page. As you can see, both functions do not include the query string in the output. If you want to get the complete URL, including query parameters, we'll use the full method next. Now, add heading, get current URL with perm. In this section, we'll learn how to retrieve the complete current URL, including any query parameters. The URL full method returns the complete URL of the current page, including any query parameters. Unlike URL current, this method preserves everything after the question mark in the URL. Now let's test it in the browser. Refresh the page. As you can see, this time Laravel displays the complete URL, including the query string. The URL full method returns the entire URL exactly as it appears in the browser. Add URL helper full method. It also returns the complete URL, including all query parameters. It produces the same output as URL full, so you can use either method depending on your preferred coding style. Now let's test it in the browser. Refresh the page. As you can see, the output is exactly the same. The URL full helper also returns the complete URL, including all query parameters. You can use either way based on your preferred coding style. Add project page anchor tag. This anchor tag creates a link to the project page. When we click it, the browser navigates to the project route. Now add the same link to the supplier.blade.php file. We're adding the same link to the supplier page, so we can navigate to the project page from multiple views. Now let's test both pages in the browser. Open the vendor and supplier pages, then click the project page link on each page. If both links take you to the project page successfully, it confirms that our navigation is working correctly. As you can see, the link is working correctly on both pages. Now replace the href value with a URL to method. URL to method generates a complete URL for the given path. It works the same as the URL helper, so you can use either approach to create dynamic links in your Laravel application. Now use the same URL to method in the vendor page as well. Now the link URL is generated by Laravel instead of being written manually, which makes our navigation more flexible. Now let's test both pages in the browser. Open the vendor and supplier pages, then click the project page link. As you can see, both links are working correctly. Laravel is generating the project URL dynamically. Now open the project.blade.php file. We want to know from which page this request is coming. URL previous method returns the URL of the previous page from where the user navigated. This helps us identify the source page of the current request. Now let's test it in the browser. As you can see, URL previous is displaying the previous page URL correctly. It shows us from which page the user navigated to the current page. And that's the end of part 12 of our Laravel 13 series. In this part, we learned about URL generation, including getting the current URL, full URL with parameters, generating URLs using helpers, and retrieving the previous URL. I hope everything is clear. If you're passionate about learning new technologies, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tech Stack, and keep learning new skills. Thank you. And remember, consistency is the key to success.